Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to another video with Richard. And we're a bit late starting because we both observed the 2-minute silence today. So we're starting a bit later than normal, but we have to do these things because we want to. Anyway, our topic today was actually brought up by a viewer. So this is not me and Richard. We took up the challenge and we were asked to pick our favourite number ones from America that weren't number one here in the UK. It was a bit difficult to start with, Richard, but I managed to do it.
Yeah, this is the 1970s now, just for this video.
Yeah, we'll do the 1980s in a couple of weeks' time. So, usual thing, Richard goes first, I'll go second. We got some bubbling unders, got lots of bubbling unders today. So, what was a struggle became a bit of a, oh, what ones am I going to leave out? So, over to you then, sir.
Okay, well, mine is quite an eclectic bunch. And my number 10 is almost like a country type song. It got to number 7 in the UK in 1976. And it was recently, and I mean, when I say recently, in the past 6 or 7 years, used as an ad for an ad in the UK. And it is Let Your Love Flow by the Bellamy Brothers, which I absolutely love. I really do. Always loved that song. In fact, I remember must have been in the early 2000s buying the best of the Bellamy Brothers just for that song. And yeah, it's really good, catchy as hell, and real good, nice acoustic start to it. Very, very melodic. Gets my number 10. Love it.
Yeah, it is a great track. You can't deny that. It's probably, it's everyone's favourite, but it's one of their most popular songs. But it was popular for a reason, because it is a good song. Very good choice. Right, my number 10 comes from 1974. Didn't chart here in the UK, but it's by a British artist. 1 week at number 1, and it's Benny and the Jets, Elton John.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, I put that in because why wasn't it released here? And because it's a very good song, but it was very popular in America. I just love that song. I just love Elton's piano playing in it. That dum 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 all the way through. It's not, and it's the sharp piano playing. That's what I like about that track.
Yeah. I do like it as well. It actually was released in the UK, but not at that time. It was released 2 years later in 1976, and it got to number 30 something or other, and it was on the Greatest Hits Volume 2 here because it was already on in America, the Greatest Hits Volume 1, which didn't include Candle in the Wind, so it was Benny and the Jets instead. But yeah, it's a really good track. Last track on side 1 of Goodbye Yellow Road. Great choice. Well, my number 9 is from 1970, and it got to number 1 in America for 1 week. It hit number 3 in the UK, and it's Neil Diamond's Cracklin' Rosie, which I think is magnificent. I always look at Neil Diamond having 4 biggies in the 70s: Cracklin' Rosie, Sweet Caroline. I think that was actually the 60s, but I'm not sure. I Am, I Said, and Song Blue. But the best of a lot of them is Cracklin' Rosie. I absolutely adore it. I remember getting the 20 Golden Greats for Christmas. I think it was about 1990 because it was the end of my vinyl buying. And it was one of the last vinyl albums I bought, or actually got as a present, was the 20 Golden Greats, Neil Diamond. And Cracklin' Rosie, my favourite track off it. So that gets my number 9.
Yeah, I like that track. I prefer it to Sweet Caroline any day of the week.
Yeah, well, I do as well.
Yeah, it's I mean, he made some terrific songs during that period, and that is one of them. That's a great choice. Okay, my number 9 is from 1979. Now, it did get released here in the UK, but not until 1985 as a remix. And it got to number 7, but it was 1 week in 1979, and it's Amy Stewart's version of Knock on Wood.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a great disco record.
Yeah, it is.
She did a version of Light My Fire as well at the same sort of time, but Knock on Wood is the best one that she did. It's just a great dancey, disco-y record, and I remember hearing it was a wee lad, and I thought, this is a great little track.
I bought the remix in '85. I just thought it was fantastic. Yeah, really, really good choice. My number 8 is also a disco classic, and it's also 1979 for 1 week, and it's Donna Summer and Hot Stuff. And I especially like this because Arsenal Football Club took it into the top 10 in 1998
Yes,
with
it
their
did.
own version. But it's not as good, obviously, as the Donna Summer version from her album Bad Girls. An absolutely brilliant album, brilliant double disco album. But Hot Stuff for me is the best track off it. Really is. It's catchy as hell. It got to number 11 in the UK. I thought it might have done better, but still, it got its dues in America with number 1. So that's number
Yeah,
3.
great track. Featured in oh, we got the Gremlins again. It was featured in the full Monty when they're standing in the queue and they're in the doll queue and they're all doing the very. I mean, it's great that got a bit of a revive in that. That's a great track. I like that. I actually prefer Hot Stuff that I Feel Love. That'll upset a lot of people.
I like both of them. I like I Feel Love as well.
I think
I
they're
Feel
great.
Love magnificent.
Okay, my number 8, 1975, 2 weeks at number 1 for David Bowie and Fame.
Right, okay.
Okay, a lot of people don't like that track. I like it. There's just something about it. I think it's that funky guitar that I like. Didn't do anything here, did it?
Well, it got to number 17, which is not very good.
No.
And to be honest, it's not one of my favorite Bowie 70 singles, which means it's not in my top 10 here. It was a bubbling under, which I will no longer use. So that's me down to 5 now. But yeah, it was co-written with Carlos Alomar, who actually nicked the riff off it for a track called Foot Stomping. Although I'm not 100% sure here. I think the song Foot Stomping, he maybe created that riff for that cover version. And obviously there's some input by John Lennon as well. So John Lennon gets a credit. And the last track on Young Americans, and if I'm being honest, it's my least favorite track off Young Americans, but still is pretty good. And it was great that David Bowie got number 1
in America. Yeah.
And the beauty of that one was it got to number 1 and then fell and then got back to number 1 the following week. So it wasn't just, a flash in the pan. It actually got back in at number 1. So it was over a 3-week period. It's 2 weeks at number 1. Well, my number 7 is also from 1975 and also 1 week at number 1. And I got to number 2 in the UK. And it's a song I mentioned in one of our previous videos. I think it was the cover versions one. And it's the Carpenters version of Please, Mr. Postman. I just love it. I absolutely love it. It just makes me feel happy. It makes me smile. I love the video at Disneyland. Karen Carpenter looks so happy compared to what she would in a few years' time. And she looked absolutely beautiful as well, having a great time in those sort of merry-go-round things. And it's just a fantastic version of that track. And because of that, it gets my number 7.
It won't be the first, only the time it will get mentioned today.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yes. My number 7. This was a big hit over here as well. It got to number 2 over here from 1976. 1 week in America. C.W. McCall. Breaker 1-9.
Oh, God.
I love that. I love the movie.
Aye, one boy. Good on you, Ian. Good on you.
I just love that record. I mean, I was what? 9 years old.
Yeah, so was I, obviously.
But I think it was because I just loved. I mean, I went to see the movie, and the pictures. I just loved it. I've got it on DVD. I've always had a copy of it.
Yeah.
I just love that. I just love it.
My brother bought that single. That's why I know it so well. He used to play that to death, and I couldn't stand it. But no, good on you. Glad to hear it. My number 6, actually, I used to think this actually was number 1 in the UK, but it wasn't. It only actually reached number 2. And it was the number 1 in the States for 1 week in 1979. And if I say New York, London, Paris, Munich, would you know what I'm talking about?
Pop music.
Correct. Yeah, by M. I think it's really good. Robin Scott, I think, is the guy out of M. He did another single called That's the Way the Money Goes, which I like even more, but it didn't do so well either in the UK or the US. But it's an absolute iconic track. And it's been remixed a million times. And I think it's charted quite a few times in the UK with different remixes. But the original is absolutely brilliant and very sort of synthy, not really American type new wave, but not British type new wave, but brilliant track from 1979. Catchy as hell, and that gets my number 6.
Yeah, great track. I love that start, that sort of churchy organ sound. It really grabs you straight away. I mean, I remember hearing it the first time on the radio and went and brought it. I've got that. I mean, it's just one of the great last 70s number 2, number 1 both places. Great choice. Okay, my number 6, I'm just looking at it, 1971.
Yeah.
And it's written by Carole King, or co-wrote. And it got to number 4 here, but it was 1 week in America, and it's James Taylor's version of You've Got a Friend. I love that track. I love Carole's version, and I love James's version as much.
Yeah, it's very good. I prefer Carole King's version because I'm more used to it with the Tapestry album. And actually, Andrea Corr, again, does a very good version of it. Incidentally, the Corrs have got a new single coming out. It's 2 of the Fleetwood Mac songs, or Christopher McVie songs. Everywhere and Little Lies and one other one, Songbird. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. But yeah, really, really good track. Absolute classic and a really excellent choice. My number 5 is actually a soul classic, and you don't really get that from me. And it's from 1973. It got to number 9 in the UK, but in the States, 1 week at number 1. And it's the OJ's Love Train. Absolutely love it. It is so uplifting, and you can't help but sing along to it. Get up your seat and dance to it. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Catchy as hell again, and it gets down number 5.
Okay, yeah, very good choice, that one. So my number 5 is from 1973, I think, or 1970. 1970. I can't read my own writing, Richard. Got to number 3 over here, but number 1 for 2 weeks in America, and it's Mama Told Me Not to Come, 3 Dog Night.
I don't know that. I don't know any 3 Dog Night. Now, if I heard it, I probably do know it, but I can't say I actually know that.
Well, it was on an album that Tom Jones did. Remember when he did Reload?
Yeah.
And he did a song with the Stereophonics.
Yes. All right. Okay. Right.
It's that one.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I love Tom's and Kerry's version of that. But the original by 3 Dog Night is great. It's got what I like about it is that keyboard. It's just a great song. I mean, it did well in the UK, which was great for them, but they didn't have many hits, and that was probably the only hit in the UK. But they were big in America. It's just a great track. Now you know what it is.
Were they sort of a hard rock, almost proggy type band?
Yeah. Yeah, they're a pretty good band, but at least you know the song of the Tom Jones.
Yeah. Well, my number 4 is a single that I actually got as a kid. It's one of the very first singles I was bought. Obviously, didn't buy it myself because it was only about, what age would I have been? 6 coming on 7. And it's number 4 in the UK, but for 3 weeks it got to number 1 in America. and the end of 1971, start of 1972, I think. And it is Melanie and Brand New Key. And I absolutely love it. I really do. I'm a big Melanie Safka fan anyway, but this is catchy as hell. And of course, it did get to number one under a different song title, but it's the same tune. In the mid-70s with a disgraceful, absolutely rubbish Combine Harvester by the Wurzels, but which my brother bought. But I got the Brand New Key one, which meant I was cooler than him, even though he's 4 years older than me. But yeah, really, really catchy. And I know she doesn't like playing it too much because she doesn't want to be remembered for it. But I still think it's a really good pop song, and it gets my number 4.
Yeah, I love that song, but I'm like you, I'm not a great fan of the Wurzels. Yeah, well. Okay, my number 4 is another American band. This never got released here in the UK. It was from 1973, 1 week, and it's Grand Funk Railroad and We Are an American Band. Which, I mean, I love Grand Funk Railroad. They're a great 3-piece rock band, but this is just a great track. It's popular, but even the British fans that like Grand Funk love this song as well. It's just a great rock track.
I have seen so many Grand Funk or Grand Funk Railroad albums on the VC. I have never heard one of their songs. I don't know anything about them whatsoever. But they are apparently quite hard rock.
Yeah.
Well, my number 3, you've already mentioned them, but it's a different song. And it's from 1975 for 2 weeks. And it got to number 12 in the UK. Should have done so much better. And it's Elton John's Philadelphia Freedom, which is a really, really good track. Slightly different to the Elton you sort of expect around that time with Candle in the Wind, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. This is a really good, almost soulful track, and it is quite long, and I absolutely love it. And I remember seeing him perform it on video, obviously, 1992, the Barcelona gig, and it was brilliant. I just think it's excellent. Deserved to get to number 1 in the States. Just wish it had done better in the UK. And it's one of the very few singles that's actually credited to the Elton John band rather than Elton John, and it's a non-album single as well, so that's extra special for me. So that's my number 3, Philadelphia Freedom by the Elton John band.
Yeah, I love that song. I think it was my number 1 or 2. I think it was my number 2 in my top 10 songs. I love it for the same reason. It's a little bit different, and again, it's the Elton John band. Which should got more credit because they've been playing together for forever.
Yeah.
They're a great band, and that's a great choice. Okay, my number 3 again is a single from 1970, not released here. 3 weeks at number 1. It was a double A side, and I can never remember the other side because I didn't really like it. But the band is Guess Who, and it's The Brilliant American Woman.
I know that one.
That is just a great track.
Yeah. That's Burton Cummings, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I know. I always thought it was a weird name having The Who and also having the Guess Who, but there you go. I will admit, though, before I started watching these VC videos, I had never heard of them. Never heard of them at all. But whenever I heard American Woman, I knew what it was, and I obviously knew it before, and that's a very, very good choice. So
yeah, featured in what's it called? Austin Powers.
Yeah, I think is it John Mayer did a cover of that as well at some stage.
Yes.
I thought so. Well, my number 2 is by a band that. If you think Elton John took up the first half of the 70s in the US, this band took up the second half. And it's from 1978, and it's 4 weeks at number 1 and got to number 4 over here. However, the 1978, if you actually look at the US number 1 charts in 78, these guys were responsible for writing about I think it's 24 of the 52 weeks of the number ones, because they were getting to number one, their brother was getting to number one, they'd written other songs for other people which was getting to number one, and of course it's the Bee Gees, and it's Staying Alive, which has got one of the best grooves ever. So it is, and I just love it, from obviously Saturday Night Fever. But it's such a brilliant song. You know, I could have picked Night Fever. That's another thing. I was only picking one per artist. Could have picked Night Fever as well, which is excellent, or even Tragedy, which is excellent. But to me, Staying Alive is the number one disco song, and it gets my number two.
It's my favourite song by the Bee Gees.
Yeah, brilliant.
It is a brilliant song. I love the video to it as well.
Yeah, so do I.
I think it is. It's just a great video. I mean, I got the single when it came out because I just loved it. Yeah. And I love it in the film because you got John walking down the street with his pot of paint.
It looks so cool.
Carrying a pot of paint looks cool. Yeah, that is a great track and a great choice. My number two is from 1976. Number 11 here. But obviously 1 week at number one, Steve Miller Band and Rockin' Me.
Yeah, all right, yeah.
I love it. I love how it starts because it's a and then it changes key very quickly. It's just a great rock track. One of my favorite Steve Miller tracks.
I know a few of his songs, and that's about it. It was pretty successful here in the early 80s with Abracadabra, which is completely different to what he was normally doing, because it was full of synth, but I actually liked it as well. And then, of course, The Joker got to number one in 1990 or 91 here. Yeah. I think it was the number one in the US in 73 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, big hit. Yeah. Status Quo did a cover version of Rockin' Me, but we don't talk about that. That's my favourite band, and I just don't like what they did to it.
Well, my number one, and I just think this is actually their second best single for me. My favorite single of theirs got to number one here, but it did nothing in the US, and it's from 1975. It got to number one for 1 week, got to number 6 here, and it's from Wings. And it's Listen to What the Man Says, which I think is a magnificent track. It's on their Venus and Mars album, which is it's a good album, but it's not as good as Band on the Run. Although Band on the Run got to number one in the States as well, Listen to What the Man Says is my second favorite Wings single. I love it. I love the backing vocals of it as well. And the live version of it is every bit as good. But the single version, magnificent. And the shame was it never got on to Wings' greatest, which I don't understand why. Number one in the States, number 6 in the UK, didn't get on. Don't know why, but it's an absolutely brilliant track. Listen to What the Man Says by Wings, my number one.
Yeah, it is a great track. Again, I'm so bemused that it's not one of Wings' greatest hits.
Yeah, I know.
Probably not. You know, it's a great song. Okay, my number one is, I didn't put the year, but it got to number 3, but 3 weeks at number 1 in America, and it's Horse and a Horse with No Name.
America, you mean?
Yeah, in America, yeah. You know what I mean.
You said horse for the horse with no name. America, Iain, yeah. I'm so sorry, but that's one song I detest with a passion. I absolutely hate it with a passion, and I'll tell you why. I can't stand Neil Young, and that sounds exactly like Neil Young. In fact, I think it is Neil Young, uncredited. I'm still 100% certain that is Neil Young. I just hate the song. You listen to any other America songs, they don't sound anything like that. And I think it's dreary, and I'm sorry, but it's one of my pet peeves. You've done Convoy, which I thought was bad, but the music, you do this one, which annoys me because I can't stand it. So
I just love
sorry.
I just love it. Well, we can't all like the same thing.
Exactly. But no, I don't see the appeal of that. Everybody seems to love that, apart from me. I just don't see the appeal. But anyway, fair play to you.
But it's the only one of theirs I like.
So, do you not think it sounds like Neil Young?
You're probably right.
No, but play any Neil Young song from around that time, then play that one, and you tell me that that's not Neil Young
Yeah,
on
but the
credit.
other songs are just drab.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to actually mention all 6 bubbling unders because I want to see the wee David Bowie thing up there again, and I've got Fame 2 weeks at number 1, number 17 in the UK from 1975. As I say, good track, but not my favourite. I've also put the Rolling Stones' Angie in as a bubbling under. It is my favourite Stones single of the 70s, but I've always thought it's a better song than a single, really. It's a fantastic track, but maybe it's a little bit too slow to be a single, and that's why I didn't put it in my top 10. I just want to ruffle things up a little bit, to be quite honest with you. And it got to number 5 in the UK, 73. This one I love, and I know a channel I watch, TKR Video Central, he'll be pulling his hair out because he hates this song. And it is I Can Help by Billy Swan, number 1 for 2 weeks in 74. Absolutely love it. It was on an old compilation we had called Country Boy Meets Country Girl, I think. And I really loved it. And it only got to number 6 in the UK. I'm putting this in, although I don't think it should, and it's Don McLean's American Pie from 1972. And the reason is that the single version is split in half, and then part 2 is on the B side, which destroys the song. But it did get to number 1, and the whole thing, if you count it, is brilliant. And then my other 2 are, although I didn't want to repeat, I've sort of repeated, and it's the Beatles, Let It Be from 1970, UK number 2. Should have been a number 1 hit. And finally, I am going to give a shout out to one of the Beatles, Ringo Starr, Photograph from 1973. Got to number 1 in the States. I think it was only 1 week, and UK number 8. And it is by far his best solo song, co-written with George Harrison, although probably George Harrison wrote the most of it. But I can't prove that. But anyway, absolutely brilliant song. And those are my bubbling unders.
Yeah, I've got a version of I Can Help. I love it. Like you, I think it's a very catchy tune. I just love that keyboard in it. And you're right about Ringo Starr. Best thing he ever recorded as a solo singer.
Yeah,
there's some really good ones in there as well. I just like you like say Fame. Obviously, that's a great song. Some great ones. So I'll quickly go through mine. So my first one is Wings, 1971, and it's Uncle Albert and Admiral Halsey.
Just before you go on, just in case somebody puts it in below, I know and you know it's not Wings, it's Paul and Linda McCartney. That's who it's credited to, but we always look at it as a Wings song, and it is on the Wings list, but it's actually
well pointed out. I was going to say that, but you beat me to it. But yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, brilliant song. My next one was number 2 here in the UK in 1974, and it's Batman Turner and Overdrive. Let's Rock. If you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
It's all right. Every time I hear that now, I think of Smashy and Nicey when he pulls up. Great song. My next one, you've already mentioned it in your top 10. Please, Mr. Postman.
Great.
All for the right reasons. Karen, that was the last time we really saw Karen fit, healthy, and enjoying life and looking happy. Brilliant song. My next one is a Fleetwood Mac song. 1977. Only got to number 35 here. Dreams.
Yeah.
1 week.
And
my last one is a real curveball for me. Didn't get over here 1976, but 3 weeks in America, and it's Wild Cherry. Play that funky music.
Quite why? Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, I've heard some great versions of it. One of my favourite bands, Thunder, do a version of it.
Right.
But the funniest one I've seen was in a film that Martin Lawrence was in, where he goes back to the medieval days. And he gets this medieval band from a court in England playing it on medieval music. It's absolutely brilliant. So there we go. An interesting one there. Especially my number one. And my number 7.
I know. I just hate that song. There's another one I cannot stand, and that's Woodstock as well. And I group those two together. I know you probably like Matthew Southern Comfort, Woodstock, Joni Mitchell song. Can't abide it. There you go.
No, the only version I really like is Joni Mitchell's.
All right, okay. I don't like
I'm
it
not a
either.
great lover of Matthew. They sort of ruined it.
Well,
It
number
took
one hit.
Yeah, but it took the spirit
Mhm.
of Joni Mitchell's Woodstock out of it. They tried to make it too poppy. It's supposed to be this nice, gentle song, not a jump up and down groovy. I don't know what they were trying to do to it. Anyway, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to tackle the 1980s.
Yeah. I'll have to have a look.
I don't think we're going to go any further, because if you look into the 90s, there is some absolutely garbage.
No.
So we'll have to come up with another theme. So a couple of weeks' time, we'll do that. Have a nice weekend, everyone. It's a beautiful day here. What's it like in?
It's very nice here. It's sharp, but it's very sunny.
Yes, it is here. So only leaves one thing to say, and that's it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Ta-ra,
Bye.
folks.